Andrew. It is so terrific. I'm excited to talk with you today. I'm talking with the great Andrew Freeman, who is a restaurant consultant, I guess, to so many great restaurants and hotels around the country. In fact, you've been in the business for
Yeah, I don't
40
even want to tell you how
years.
long, but I think it'll be well, if you include serving, which is where I got my start, it's going to be just over 30 years.
I said
Yeah.
40, but 30's good. Hey,
Yeah.
I started as a bus person.
Yeah. So well actually I guess it could be closer to 35 or 40 now because I started in like 1982. So whatever the math is.
So I want to ask you this question because, we both have been in the business for a long time. And as you know, I'm one of the co-founders of Share and Pair Sundays and Come Over
Yes.
October. And those things have caused me to think a lot about why food and wine bring us together. Why those two things are so foundational. Why do you think that?
It's interesting, with a little quick backstory, but I would definitely wanted to be the biggest Broadway actor in history. And then like every aspiring actor, you get a job waiting tables and somehow in that process, I fell in love with the restaurant business because it's very much like show business. Lights, camera, action. There's got to be a great script, which is the food and the wine, and then, all the characters that portray it. I think the concept and of food and wine coming together is, there's the definite people that are the foodies or the ones that love to eat and, only drink the very best wine. And then there's just people that want to be together, which I think the two programs that you mentioned are more about that. Not that you're not promoting great food and wine, but I also think it's just connection at home, connection in a restaurant, connection with anywhere. And I think in challenged times, especially, like what we're going through right now, the concept of, you know, escapism, perhaps, to come together to just forget about the world for a minute and just focus on who you're with and eating and drinking great food. I remember the night of 9/11, I was here already and we had that moment of like, just get to a restaurant and be with people.
Yes.
And so I think restaurants are signature with, community, and just bringing people together.
And you're so right that not just on any old given night, which feels great, but sometimes in the most difficult of times. I remember I was in during the New York City blackout. I was in an Indian restaurant in Midtown in New York.
Mhm.
And the staff brought out candles, the restaurant continued. It was actually one of the best restaurant meals and nights of my life because in the face of what was a little bit of a scary
Yes.
phenomenon, nonetheless, being together and we were all strangers. It was,
Yeah.
but
It's a
there was
similar thing.
wine, there
Like
was
the night
food.
of 9/11, I remember going to a restaurant called Scala's Bistro at the Sir Francis Drake Hotel.
Yeah.
And at a particular time, it must have been around 7 p.m., they handed us all candles and everybody went outside, of the restaurants and we lit candles. And I just got the chills because the whole street was just filled with people holding candles and there was just something about, that moment of like, it's going to be okay because we're together, and you know, because I remember that I just it was like sort of was like knowing because I had worked at Windows on the World, right? So I knew that I was going to find out horrible news, and for that moment, I just didn't want to be alone, you know.
Yes.
And so I think the power of food and wine and restaurant experiences is sometimes underrated, but it's very, very powerful.
I think they wrap us in our humanity.
Hmm.
And um, God, it feels like we need that. more than ever.
Yeah, so I'm hoping, that people, because there's a, whatever your political beliefs are, there's a lot of uncertainty and fear right now about what's going to happen, right, with the tariffs. And I was talking to, what's going to do your industry, with the tariffs and everything. But the hope would be that we don't isolate and that we continue to spend our money, whatever that money may be, on the experiences that continue to bring us together and that we support the restaurant industry, which has been through so much already. I'm just like,
I
oh
know.
my gosh, could you just give us a break for a second here? But hopefully people will continue to go out and want to be with people.
Andrew, I know you publish a famous
Yes.
trend report, and I'm wondering if in an age of lots of isolation, lots of social isolation, are there things that restaurants are doing or could be doing to behaviorally emphasize being together? I mean,
Yeah.
common tables may be one of them, but
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I'm going to go back to come over October, yeah, I know it was your first year and it's going to continue to grow, but I think the idea of like bringing people together for fun experiences on Sundays or so what I would say is the number one thing we're seeing is more programming. Like people, like restaurants are doing, jazz nights or they're doing, one big table or they're doing even more wine collaborations are coming again, but not these highly upscale $700 wine nights. It's like, we just did one with Overshine and Nopa last night. So it was an affordable experience. It sold out in 10 minutes from the time we offered it. And so I think, and this is also the younger generation that wants to be entertained. They want something more than just the dining experience. So we're seeing a lot more programming. And then I'm also going to say one of our trends, not this year, but last year, but it definitely came true with solo dining. This sense of you don't have to be alone. Go and sit at a bar and
yeah.
have a great experience. And you never know who you're going to meet. Or you could bring a book and just be in an environment where you're out of your home. So I'd say socialization and more programming would
Yeah.
be the two things that we saw more of.
I actually love dining at the bar by
Mhm.
myself. I like to people watch.
Yes.
As a writer, I'm curious about what people do. It's easy to talk to people at a
Yeah.
bar, and you're not really dining by yourself. You're
No.
dining, as you say,
Yeah.
in an environment of other people who are enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
And wine is easy in that
Yeah.
regard for me because you can't send you can't send a part of your dinner to someone down the bar, but you can order a bottle of wine and send a glass down to someone.
Yeah.
So wine always is for me a kind of icebreaker, I guess, in that
Yeah,
regard.
last year I had this, well, it was even still it's still going, but as a single guy, I'm always like, I'm taking myself out on a date tonight.
Yeah.
I don't need to worry. I'm going to take myself to Boulevard and sit at the bar. Or I'm going to take and who better to go on a date with than yourself, right?
Voila. That's right. Yeah. So, how did you fall? Did you, as a kid, love? Well, you wouldn't have loved wine and food. You would have loved food, but where did your passion for food start early?
Yeah, it did. It's really interesting. I'm from New Jersey. I'm a Jew from New Jersey. So dinner parties were my mom's thing, and I obsessed about my mother's dinner parties. Obviously I was a little bit of a strange kid. I also obsessed about what she was going to wear to the dinner parties, and like I would lay out her outfits for the dinner parties. To my father's chagrin, I was always very but the process of my mom ex teaching me about the importance of the menu and who the t people that were going to be at the dinner party and where they sat and everything just I was fascinated by it. My mother wasn't a great cook. She was like a moderate cook. She was a working woman, so she didn't, there was like she cooked 2 nights a week, and the rest of the nights we were programmed pizza night or like whatever it was. But but on the nights that she cooked, and then on the holidays, I fell in love with the concept. But again, for me, it was less about just the food and more about the production of dining. We were raised lower middle class in New Jersey, but it didn't matter how much money we had. It was just always that it had to be the best, whether it was meatloaf and salad for everybody, or it was something, and then, because she wasn't the best cook, she got notorious for some funny things that she did. Like her secret ingredient for just about everything was ketchup and grape jelly. Like she would, it would just be like, just throw some ketchup in there, or throw some grape jelly in there, and it'll be a little sweet and a little tangy, and you'll be great. So, but my grandmother was a great cook, and so yeah, I just fell in love with it early, but I didn't, and I was a chubby, chubby, chubby kid, so it was clear that I loved food from an early age on. So, and then as it progressed, I I think the biggest move for me was when I decided to stop acting, which is my decision, and I was waiting tables. I was falling in love with the restaurant business, but I also had this marketing degree. So I got a job at Catherine Gibbs Secretarial Schools as the marketing manager. And at that experience, I met David Strada, who you may know,
Yeah, sure.
who was also in school education. And he left to go to the American Institute of Food and Wine. And he called me and he said, my friend Dorothy Can from the French Culinary Institute is looking for a marketing person. And I went down and I went to the program. I got there and Dorothy said to me, like, if you take this job, you're going to have to go through the program because you need to explain it. And Jacques Pepin was my teacher, and I got
Mm.
kicked out. He said I was too chatty and I belonged in the front of the house, but it gave me this, opened up my world. And the day that Dorothy took me to Union Square Cafe to offer me the job, to this day is one of those top 10 moments in my food history of just feeling like I had made it. Like I had made it. Yeah. And so, yeah, so it was those moments in restaurants for all of us that love food and love wine. I'm sure you have one. There's just those milestone moments that mean, everything to us.
Yeah, it's the magic of restaurants has never gone away. I mean, I remember when I was maybe 12 years old, the thing I wanted most for my birthday was to go out to a restaurant. I grew up extremely poor. We never
Yeah.
went to
Yeah.
restaurants, and I couldn't wait to just be in I'm sure it was a very humble restaurant, but to me, it
Yeah.
was complete glamour.
Yeah.
I loved every minute of
Yeah,
it.
you're right. It's funny those moments because we didn't grow up with any money, but when we did go out, it was meaningful.
Yeah,
It was meaningful. Yeah.
yeah, and so I mean, for Share and Pair Sundays, one of the reasons we chose Sundays is because we were hoping and are hoping, and it started last week, Share and Pair Sundays, that you could share and pair at home, but why not share and pair out and about? Because you're right, the restaurant industry needs us
Yeah.
right now, and I think of so many friendships that I've formed with people in the restaurant business, and those are important to protect right now.
Yeah, and I think for share and pair, for instance, like we've been talking to restaurants about, maybe that is the night of like open that bottle and let people bring their own wine and skip corkage or do some, low cost corkage fee, or and then even like encourage sharing among people that don't even know each other. Like,
Yep.
because that family style Sundays, I think is something that resonates with people. Like it should be, a good value. Like Canella, for instance, in the Castro has paella only on Sundays. And so there's just different ways, I think, to encourage people to come out. Like yesterday I was in Burlingame It was a beautiful day, and I just couldn't believe how many the cafes were packed. And it was just sort of like I was walking down the street and I was just blown away. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it was just bustling. And it just felt like everybody just wants to be with people right now.
Yeah. I walked into Mustard's to just say hi to a friend yesterday at 4 in the afternoon. It was packed.
Yeah.
Mustard's a very well-known restaurant, of course, in the Napa Valley here where I am. And I thought, what are they eating? I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah.
like too late for lunch, too
Yeah.
early for
Yeah.
dinner. It didn't matter. Every
I had
table.
the exact same thought as you. I was looking at everybody's table going like, are you eating dinner? Are you eating
I know.
lunch? Or are you like, you know?
Yeah. Well, food is love in a way.
Yeah.
And
One of our trends was that Japanese dessert cafes are really making a comeback, like not a comeback, but they're showing up everywhere. And it's a new form of socialization. It's that third place.
third place.
And people don't want to go to a bar all the time, but they want a place. And so what I did notice yesterday was there was a lot of people having dessert and coffee or having dessert in a glass of wine. It was their midday get together. And yeah, we're just seeing the proliferation of Yemeni coffee shops and just more places to socialize and experience new things.
Yeah. I just came back from France last night and I still love it's heartwarming to see, hundreds of people just sitting in a cafe, talking,
Yeah.
being together over something very simple, could be a piece of quiche and,
Yeah.
a carafe of wine or something. Um, but that togetherness,
Hmm.
that togetherness is you don't even have to be the person. Just watching those
I
people, you
love it. It
feel
made me
good.
feel good. I was like, I sort of was a little bit like, oh God, like I wish I was sitting there with you. That looks
Yeah.
fun or
Can
that
I sit
looks
down?
good.
Yeah.
And I have a little dog, so we get stopped a lot because everybody wants to pet the dog. And there's just this whole sense of socialization that people I think are really craving right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you lastly, what's your favorite kind of wine and food pairing? That's something you really love.
So Kimberly Charles, my good friend Kimberly Charles will tell you that like I am a boy from New Jersey who, likes good wine, but I also love it when somebody else picks it out for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, I've been in this business so long and you think I would know a lot more about it, but there's certain things that like, to me, I always say wine is a little bit scientific to me and I was never that science brain. So when we always laugh because when I go out with Kimberly or any of my wine friends and their noses are in the glasses and they're like, I smell this and I smell that. And I'm just like, I smell wine. Um, you
Okay.
know, uh, you know. And
Yeah.
so I think my favorite experience is that sort of that relaxed environment. Like it could be pizza and a great like it could be just a great Pinot Grigio or like just something that is matched to the experience. Don't get me wrong, like I with the clients like Villette and the Matheson and I've been invited to these amazing wine evenings where it's not that I don't appreciate them, but I also think you can almost have the similar feeling that you get when you go and just have a great, pasta, like an Italian dinner with, just like some great wine in that. So whatever level you're at value-wise, right now, as the wine industry is, definitely being challenged because, not only because of the new rules, but the kids are, finding edibles and, different ways to get their buzz on. And I think the appreciation for wine has to start at that level. So you have to graduate them up, right? And so finding new ways to introduce wine in very accessible ways is I always say to like we have Overshine and Idlewild and I think they do a very good job of entry level to moving them up, right? So I think for me, to answer your question, when it all comes together, whatever the experience is, that's what makes me happy. And I also love when there's somebody there who knows more about it than I do. because then I can get educated in the process.
You know, the one of the best experiences I think I ever had was I had been working like mad all day. I was really going 1,000 miles an hour. I was supposed to meet a friend for dinner. I rushed into the restaurant. I was like 2 minutes late.
Yeah.
Rushed into the restaurant, sat down, you know, opened the menu, opened the wine list, and my friend said, "Give me that wine list. Give me your
Yeah.
menu." And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm about to give you the best gift you will ever have had, which is the gift of not having to decide.
Yes.
I I'm going to order for you and I'm going to choose the wine for you." And I was like, "Oh my God, this
Thank you.
is a gift. Thank
Yeah.
you." It was great. Anything he could have chosen, I would have loved at that moment
Yes, yes.
because yeah, it was I
Well, when you do what we do, and
yeah.
you're sort of the one that's always counted on to make, like, even with last week was my birthday, right? And like friends of mine would be like, "Well, where do you want to go? What do you want to do?" And I was like, you know what? I just don't want to make a decision. Like I will go anywhere you want me to. I will have whatever you want me to have. Because that's what we do all day, right? And so, so I understand where you're coming from. I think that's really great. And luckily, I surround myself with people like yourself that know a lot about a lot of things. And so, like, I'm always like, this is great because, and then when I have to plan it, then I plan it.
All right, my friend. Well, I'm toasting you with a glass of
Oh, well, thank you.
Valley
I
Cabernet.
love it. I don't have one, but yeah, but I should have poured one.
Yeah.
Do you have one on your desk all day long? Is that part of your
Uh,
thing?
no, I don't. But no, I definitely don't. I have a cup of tea on my desk all
Okay.
day long. And yeah, like some water. You have to have
Okay,
water.
got it. Yeah.
If you're having wine, you have to have water.
Yeah.
Um, but that's a good thought. I mean, maybe I should do that for image reasons.
Yeah,
See,
that's
there you
right.
are, marketing.
There should always be a glass, like a, yeah, and well, anyway, it's such a pleasure to talk to you and to catch up. Thanks for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you need anything else, just let me know.
All right. Thanks, my
Okay.
friend.
Okay,
Talk
good
to
to
you
see
later.
you. Okay.
See you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.